Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, I'm going to be taking a closer look at what is slowly becoming one of my favorite hand cannons in Destiny 2, Survivor's Epitaph. I'm going to be going over how to get it, as well as my thoughts on this new hand cannon added in Season of the Splicer for both PvE and PvP. Before I begin, if you like what you see here, a like and subscribe is always appreciated, and if you ever want to catch me live playing some Destiny 2, check out my Twitch, which is, as always, linked in the description down below, where I'm going to be streaming the Vault of Glass race this Saturday. Let's get into it. Survivor's Epitaph is a new 180 RPM hand cannon in the kinetic slot. It was added to the Crucible's post-game loot drop pool. It drops alongside the other three Crucible playlist weapons, the Stars and Shadow Pulse Rifle, the Frozen Orbit Sniper Rifle, and the Keening Sidearm. Currently, the only way to really farm out this weapon is to just play a lot of Crucible matches and hope for it to drop, although you can slightly increase your drop chances with the Crucible Prosperity mod on your Ghost. Epitaph seems fairly solid, with a few different roles that I think have real potential in both PvP and PvE. I'll start with PvE since that's what I mostly play, since as far as kinetic 180 RPM hand cannons go, there's only really one competitor to Survivor's Epitaph, the 7th Seraph Officer Revolver. I think that when comparing the Seraph Revolver with the Epitaph, they each have their own strengths and weaknesses. The obvious advantage of the Seraph Revolver is its ability to make Warmind cells, which, as of the making of this video, are still one of the strongest mechanics in the game. The nerfs for Warmind cells that Bungie discussed earlier this year in the State of the Game blog post have yet to be discussed any further, but with the combination of mods like Wrath of Rasputin, Global Reach, and Rage of the Warmind, as well as the new seasonal mod Hammer of the Warmind cells are capable of now stunning Overload Unstoppable champions, as well as doing incredible damage, making the Officer Revolver a strong choice. However, I think that Survivor's Epitaph, unlike the 7th Seraph Officer Revolver, has much better roles. The 7th Seraph hand cannon really only has a handful of good roles, with perks like 4th times the Charm or Threat Detector combined with either High Impact Reserves, Multi-Kill Clip, or Vorpal Weapon being ideal for this weapon. But most of these roles feel suboptimal in Master or Grandmaster level content in my opinion until you're actually able to drop a Warmind cell. But since the Survivor's Epitaph has a very large list of potential perk roles, with 12 possible perks in each of its two columns, as well as several newer perks that are very strong for Master and Grandmaster content, I feel that the Survivor's Epitaph is a good bit stronger than the 7th Seraph Revolver for those missions. The Epitaph is able to get both the perks One for All and Frenzy in its second column. I think that both of these perks are incredible damage perks for high-level content, since One for All can provide a 33% damage buff for 10 seconds after hitting 3 separate targets in a short duration, which is in my opinion one of the best damage perks in the game, with a very high buff on a very easy trigger condition. Frenzy is also incredibly strong, even after its nerf, giving you 15% increased damage as well as a handling and reload speed buff just for being in combat for 12 seconds. This perk is amazing for higher difficulty content, where keeping a perk like Rampage or Multi-Kill Clip active can be much harder than in something like Playlist Strikes, where enemies die in only 1 or 2 hits. In my opinion, the Survivor's Epitaph is a solid hand cannon for endgame PvE due to its incredible roles, and something a little more specific to this season, but not necessarily only specific to this season, its fast fire rate makes it a prime candidate for using the Overload hand cannon mod. Now I'm going to look at the PvP side of this weapon. I don't usually look at the PvP performance of most of the weapons that I look at, since it's not necessarily the main mode that I play, but I feel like I would be making a huge mistake if I ignored the PvP potential of this weapon. 180 RPM hand cannons aren't necessarily the leaders of the pack this season in PvE, but they're also nothing to ignore. They're much more viable now than they were before due to the recent nerf to the range of the 120 RPM hand cannons. I have 2 roles that I consider to be decent PvP roles. The first one was killing Lyn with High Impact Reserves, which I found was able to perform very consistently, and I was also lucky enough to get one with a Range Master work. It would hit for 58 damage per headshot, and didn't begin to experience range fall off until around 31 to 32 meters away from the target, although the High Impact Reserves did not add too much in the way of damage to this particular role. I definitely prefer something like Kill Clip, which brings me to the second role that I used for this video, Feeding Frenzy and Kill Clip. This role had slightly less range due to the magazine perks, but it was still able to push 30 to 31 meters before it experienced range fall off. I wasn't a huge fan of Feeding Frenzy on this role, as I found it never really made much of a difference in the PvP testing, and I would much have preferred something like Outlaw if I would have gotten a reload perk, but I really liked Kill Clip. And I would love to land a roll of this hand cannon with something like Heating Up, Killing Wind, or Outlaw paired with Kill Clip. This weapon, with Kill Clip active, deals 76 damage per headshot, allowing for 3-tap headshots on players inside of its range. It kind of felt like the old Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten 3-taps, although it did require a lot more setup with Kill Clip. Definitely something I plan to use more, especially if 180 RPM hand cannons see any kind of a buff in the future. So overall, I think that Survivor's Epitaph is a very solid hand cannon, since it has such a great array of PvE perks, and for PvP, it definitely performs better than its only current legendary competition in the kinetic slot. So for anyone that is a fan of 180 RPM hand cannons in PvP, or for anyone that is possibly holding out for a buff to that archetype in the future, Survivor's Epitaph is 100% a weapon I recommend picking up. On the PvE side of things, I think if you're not running a Warmind Cell build for any given reason, that this is 100% better to use than the Seraph Revolver in pretty much any content that I played with it. The perks on this weapon, as well as the stats, just feel so incredible compared to a lot of other hand cannons currently in the game. I know they're not necessarily the greatest for PvE, but sometimes with the overload mods, you do have to use a hand cannon. However, that's all for me for now. And again, if you liked this video, a like and subscribe is always appreciated, as it really does help to support the channel. And if you guys want to see some more Destiny 2 content, my Twitch is linked down below, where I'll continue to live stream Season of the Splicer content, as well as this weekend's Vault of Glass race. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.